Welcome, everybody. Steve McHale here with my friend. We're going to talk about addiction today. Tim Holloway. How's it going, Tim? Good to see you.
It's good, brother. I just wanted to thank you and appreciate you for giving me this opportunity to speak to your audience. And I really enjoy doing these things. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for being here.
Yes, sir.
And I know you've got some havings with the addiction world. So yeah, the realm. So anything that you can tell us about what you've got and what you've
Sure.
dealt with in that world.
Sure. Yeah, just a little bit of backstory about my childhood. So my mom was addicted to heroin, and my dad was a prison gangster. So you imagine these two scenarios. You got a prison gangster, you got a mother addicted to heroin, and you can imagine what my life was like. But before I came into the world, just to give you a picture, my mom had her child murdered and then her other child taken away because her boyfriend went crazy and murdered in her presence. And so the government came in and took my older brother away, which I haven't met to this day. And then us kids were born into her chaos. She eventually became a prostitute. So she was addicted to heroin and a prostitute. And she kept on having kids one after another. And so 5 of us were inside of this crazy, chaotic drug environment, surrounded by violence, prostitution, and drugs, and all of that stuff. And so we experienced a lot of stuff that most people, would only think about in their nightmares or watch on TV. And the government came and took us all away at 10 years old. I was 10, and the government came in and took us all away and put us into different family members, and we all got scattered, each one to a different family member. There was no family member that was going to take all 5 of us. And so one of us got distributed out to different family members, and I got given to my grandmother, which was my dad's mom. And all the other kids got with my mother's kind of family. And that's when I kind of noticed, things were wrong with me. Before that, it was just kind of living in that crazy environment. That was just normal, so I didn't know any difference. But when I got taken out of that environment and put into a normal environment, I started noticing all kinds of things that were wrong with me, like night terrors and anxiety. And this is adult me looking back and kind of defining these things, because I didn't have the words for them then. I just knew that I'd wake up a couple blocks down the street and the cops would come, and all these different things connected to sleepwalking and night terrors and anxiety and different things. Pounding my head against the wall, fits of rage, these kind of things. And it's very hard for my grandmother to handle.
I can imagine, yeah, for sure. Was she did she have any idea about any of that prior to that, or?
She did. She was a lot of my saving grace, in the sense of she'd always come get me on the weekend, and she knew everything. And so she did what she could. As far as I remember doing my homework, she would even come down on Thursday night. She was an hour away too. She would come down on Thursday night, and we would do my homework under the street light, because we didn't have power on the inside. And she would come back and pick me up after school on Friday, and then take me to the weekend, and then bring me to school Monday morning. So she kind of kept me out of the environment as much as possible, which I'm extremely thankful for, because there's a lot of things that I missed, which is this one time I come to school Monday morning, and my cousin and my brother, they're telling me that somebody got murdered in our backyard. And I'm like, nah. And so I go home, because I'm still not believing them. And I go home, and then they take me to the crime scene and the blood, because they didn't clean anything up, after somebody's murdered in body, And I'm like, yeah, somebody was murdered in our backyard. And cut from throat to throat, and the guy ended up getting caught in Colorado or something. But anyways, that was just one example of what my grandmother saved me from during the weekend that I wasn't there to experience.
And the rest of your siblings were there, so you were the only one that kind of got away from it, I guess.
Yeah, excuse me, getting over a cold. Yeah, my siblings, they got the worst of the environment. I got the worst of the beatings because I was the redheaded stepchild, and I wasn't the kid that was born in that situation with my stepfather. And so, I got the boot a lot and the brunt of a lot of stuff, but they really got more traumatized than I did as far as the things that would happen on the weekend.
Yeah, that's a wild environment to be a part of for sure. And you said it was after you got with your starting, so everyone went to different places, and then when you were with your grandma permanently, then you started noticing it was not being normal in the mind more so, or
yeah, I think I would hear my stepfather calling me, so in my dreams, and it was just reoccurring, so it just would never ever end, and so it's just a constant. And I got put into counseling at 10 years old. And my grandma enrolled me in church school. And so she was doing everything that she can. I had a social worker too that came by. So I'm like, my life revolved around counseling, social worker, and school. And so, everybody was doing whatever they could to try to help me get to some normality. But, it led to drugs at very, very early age. Like, I think I was 12. I felt like I was fully addicted to speed at 13, methamphetamines. And the 12 was like huffing paint, smoking weed, and popping pills and stuff like that. And once I found amphetamines, that all the other stuff, I was like, I don't even want to mess with that anymore. And so I just went hard with the meth, and you can imagine how fast downhill you can go on meth.
Well, it's all about speeding it up. So yeah, you're going to go fast for sure. Was that the goal? Or, I mean, not at the time, you probably didn't really understand what was happening, but like you said, as you reflect back on it, like just trying to kind of like what made that more, your choice versus the other things, like you were saying.
Yeah. I think so. At 13 is when I went to wake up my grandmother, and she didn't wake up. So it was devastating. Yeah, I felt like the only person that loved me was gone, and so I think the downers, like during that whole time, was like sinking me down. And I had a couple suicide attempts with pills and stuff like that, and just like the state. And so when I took meth, it felt like it picked me up out of that. So that's the only logical conclusion that I can think of, is like this one was like I was just knocking on death's door. And I mean, I was doing codeine, Klonopins, all this kind of psychotropic meds and anything that I could get my hands on that was a downer. And I could barely even like function, you see someone with the head drop, scratching their face like this.
Yeah, like that fentanyl lean or bend now that they talk about, you just completely out of it. So that makes sense. You're trying to pick yourself back up from the downward place. So yeah, in a way, it's like this is how you're helping yourself kind of get away from the down, the lower spot. So
yeah. So what happened was My father got out of prison for a little bit. They gave him special release because his mother just died, and he had a kid at home that he had to take care of. And so he got out, and I think like 6 months he ran off with some tweaker down the street, and then we didn't see him anymore. And so when he left, my stepmother, we were always like, she hated speed freaks, and he left because he was doing speed, and it's just the heroin culture. They usually hate speed freaks. This in our environment, and so my mother was my stepmother was very violent towards me, and she was pretty big, so she'd kick my ass all the time. And I'm like, I'm just tired of getting my ass kicked. 13-year-old sprouty little kid. I'm like, I'm out of here. And so there was a dealer up the street who was moving, and she was female. She was 35, and I moved in with her, and we moved like 30 minutes away from there. And so at 13, I moved in with this 35-year-old drug dealer.
That's quite a life. Like, I mean, to go from everything that you started with, and then now we're at that point. Like, it's an amazing story.
Yeah.
And the fact that you can speak of it, and not, with such, levity in a way, being that, you've gone through some healing with it, obviously. So
Sure.
How did that kind of look, I guess?
Yeah. Well, it began to shift when I would say about 3 or 4 years later, 16, 17, still with this lady. I'm still running dope and acting a fool. Well, she gets the cops. They started zeroing in on the drug activity inside of our communities, and they got her to flip on the main dealer, and then she was faced with the ultimatum of getting clean or going to prison, like they often do, And so she got clean, and so I was stuck with what do I do now,
Yeah.
And so I run the streets for a period of time because I'm no longer like really conducive there because she's changing, and it just gets old really, really fast. And the bouncing to like house to house and stuff like that, and we were cooking meth in abandoned places and different stuff, and the paranoia was really getting to me. I was getting really, really sick too at the same time, because I'm trying to do dope like all these adults are, and I'm like 100 pounds, like literally I'm like just a scrawny ass kid, and so it didn't take long for me to overdose, and so it was a combination between the overdose, the being sick, and just kind of sick and tired sort of thing, to where I'm like, I can't really do this anymore. And so then I reached out to her because she was clean. Sure, like you can. She moved on. She got a man, all kinds of stuff. Sure, you can stay with us, but you're gonna have to go to meetings and do all this stuff. And I'm like, gosh, yeah, what do I do?
So much work.
And which ended up being a good thing because I started going to meetings, and I started going to church, and this old lady was from Al-Anon, and so I was her little pet project, and so she would take me to all the meetings, and so I was hitting like 3 or 4 meetings a week and going to church and relapsing every once in a while when I connect with old friends and stuff, but I finally stuck. And so, yeah, I was grateful for that. That's when the transformation began to happen, was back then. I ended up moving in with a cop who he took me into his home after that because she relapsed and started doing drugs again. And I'm like, what the heck am I going to do? Like,
Right.
I'm trying to stay clean, and we got drugs in the house again, and all the people are back, and so I was talking to a mentor of mine who I met at church, and who was a cop, and he was like, "Hey, my home's always open to you." And I'm like, "Nah, I'm not gonna do that." But anyways, he just started meeting with me every week, getting tacos at Jack in the Box, and he would just sit there and talk to me like every week, and just pour into me. And so I took him up on the offer when things got just way too difficult. And yeah, he mentored me for 4 years inside of his home. So from 17 to, or actually 3 years, 17 to 20, I think.
Nice.
Yeah. And when I left his house, I had a car, I had a fiance, I had an apartment, all the furniture, I had a job. I mean, I was like set, man. 3 years difference.
Yeah.
Got it together really, really quick, man.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And then, so the woman that you were with relapsed, and you just kept moving on, fortunately, and sticking with, was that the woman that was from church? I'm not sure.
Well, that was the drug dealer from
okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So then you had the woman from church that made you the kind of the pet project, as well as the cop that was mentoring you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah.
So what was the, you got your job now, you're making money. So how did you move from what you were doing into what was the next step? Like, how did that look?
Yeah, it looked a whole lot like a bag of shit.
Didn't sound like a bag of shit.
I tell my story, I just wish like it was like, ta-da! And I was like, I went through a whole nother round, man. I got married, I got a career. I was hungry after money, things, houses, big trucks. My identity was all wrapped up in the things that I was accomplishing, and to my defense, I did do a lot more than my family ever did, and so I did have a reason to be proud in that sort of way.
Absolutely.
But anyways, I just really got out of focus, and so when I lost it all in 2008 during the financial collapse, I was in the construction industry, and there was no such thing as construction. I mean, construction was over for a long period of time. And so I lost everything, man. I lost the house, the truck that I paid cash for. I sold for 25% of what I paid for it. Like, I just literally just lost everything and started losing myself in the bottle. And then, of course, I started losing my wife at the same time. So it's my second round with addiction. I thought I'd be able to handle the alcohol and stuff like that, but all the pain and all that stuff kind of came creeping up, and it all came crashing down, and it was pretty devastating, man. What the big moment for me there was coming to the scene of the accident with my daughter. My wife was in a DUI accident with my daughter in the car, and she totaled the car. And I get to the scene of the accident because they called me at work. I come on the scene, and my wife's arrested on the curb, and my daughter's already transported to the ER. And just rocked my world, man. Yeah. So, anyways, that was my second wake up call, and from that moment, you see, my daughter was, I think, 6 years old. She's 20 now, so 14 years ago that happened, and it set kind of a self-discovery course that changed my life. That is responsible for the man I am today, but a very painful wake up call.
Unfortunately, I think they all are. I don't know too many people that have wake up calls that are bright and sunny, myself included. So, Yeah, it sucks, and fortunately, your daughter's okay. She made it through that okay, and everything. But what? How did that look after that second wake up call? Like, you said everything. You lost everything again, and lost yourself in the bottle, but that was kind of. It sounded like it was all tied to. I felt this before when you were speaking. Your identity was just not what it was. You were wrapped up in like trying to make external things make you feel good in a way. So I'm just assuming or guessing that this second round is kind of where you went inside. Maybe.
I did. It was hard. There was a lot of painful things that I had to face during that time. One is my wife's cheating on me, and the other is that I'm getting better. She's cheating, and she's still in active alcoholism because we both were. And I became the kind of caretaker of trying to manage her addiction. And it was absolutely exhausting. So, after that situation, it didn't take long for me to go, well, I'm going to have to do something about this. This is getting like crazy. So, it's growing a pair of balls. It's putting your foot down. It's, it's discovering what it is that you want, and then assertively taking action on that. And, it's kind of like I had all I could stand, and I can't stand anymore. And I'm not going to do this. And this time, when you come around and say, I'm sorry, I'll do better, it's not going to work this time. And trust me, she tried multiple times. So finding myself, finding what I wanted, being assertive, growing a backbone, all of those things were the initial catalyst for the change. After that, a whole lot of shadow work, inner child work, spiritual formation, facing the darkness. Because I look at it like I really didn't deal with stuff from my youth, and that's why it gravitated to an acceptable addiction of achievement and trophies. But once the achievement and the trophies, I was fine when it was happening. Well, they gave me the carrot, and I was getting all the carrots and achieving all of these bonuses. And like, you put a carrot in front of me, and so I was just like eating it up, man. And once all of that was gone, I didn't have a clue who I was, and I didn't know that I never dealt with any of my darkness, and I just swapped my pain, and so that was the whole reason for round two, is because if I was gonna rebuild, it's gonna have to be rebuilt on something that was real, and something that was on the inside, that I've actually faced the darkness.
Yeah.
What I didn't talk about in there is that my father OD'd on heroin, and then my mom went through a long cancer battle, and I lost them both at the same time. And so this kind of double funeral sort of thing, and it was really, really painful. But facing the pain of forgiving my father, even though he's gone, and forgiving my mother, even though she's gone, and then allowing that pain to resurface and to sit with it, and it broke me down quite a few times. And if you ever seen somebody mourn or let out a wail that was heart wrenching, that was when that pain came up. It was just, it was healing. It was healing.
That's great. I mean, I'm sure you've heard that saying that the forgiveness isn't, that, at least for me, that's been one of the biggest things to really remember is forgiveness isn't for the other person as much as it is, just for us to let go of the things.
Yeah.
So
what was interesting, brother, is I knew I had mama issues because I remember at a very young age being very angry at her, as far as like what is wrong with me that you couldn't keep us and all those different things. And so the mama issues were like I was willing to acknowledge the father abandonment issues of him never being around and always in prison and showing up very, very rarely inside of my life, and that hole that left inside of me of not being affirmed or known, seen, or recognized by my father, or even thought that he cared much. It took me a little bit of time to recognize that was actually there. But yeah, good healing when I was able to kind of see that.
With your mother, you mean, or with?
So with my mother, it was easy. With my father, it took a period of time to recognize that kind of stuff was there.
I gotcha.
It's a little bit different because my mother did what do they call it, like overt damage. My dad did like covert damage, like you turn around. It's like my mom, like, I mean, she really messed up my life, but my dad just wasn't there.
Right. I mean, I feel you because my dad wasn't there either. So like, I know exactly what you're saying. And it was easier to just kind of let that go. For me anyway, like, because I didn't have anything to really be super angry about because there wasn't there, like you're saying, like there was nothing existence as much as the people that were in the life causing problems.
Yeah. So my stepfather was, he was something else, man. And, he got diagnosed as a schizophrenic when I was very young. And it's surprising that, so both of my parents were diagnosed and on state money as far as like SSI and disability for mental capacities, And anyways, he was definitely tormented, and he found some sort of joy off of some of the stuff that he did. And anyway, so he had a lot of pain, inflicted a lot of pain, and I was able to reframe that as an adult and to look at, what it is that I was going to go through in the dark periods of life and the overdose and the times that I wanted to end my life and all these different things, and just look back with a sense of gratitude in the sense of, he really did break me down. And but when I look at it with a reframe, that is probably where my strength come from. Probably was. So give it a little grace and understand that he had some mental problems and it wasn't all there, and it turned out to my good in the long run because I'm a lot stronger today because of the pain,
Absolutely. I think that's most people that like you have been able to turn shitty situations into, thriving. That's kind of a common theme, is like being grateful for all of the shit that happened and using that as a catalyst, alchemizing it into your strength in order to become, at first it was, finding the external things for validation, and that was all well and good at the time, like you said, like it felt good, but
sure,
it's not the true win. The true win is, as you know now, is just loving you for you.
Yeah.
And doing all that stuff that we have to do for ourselves internally. And so,
the thing that I went through was, a little bit of inner child stuff, and having compassion on the younger version of me. And, as a young kid, I was all over the place, and I loved WWF and Hulk Hogan and wrestling. And that's probably the one reason I always had a positive affinity for my dad, is because he was yoked up. I mean, he was the head of the prison gang. He wasn't the one kneeling down at the bottom. He was huge. Like, probably the biggest man I've seen, like, physically. I've seen bigger than on TV, but the younger version of me always looked up to somebody who was big and strong, and that's because I wanted to be big and strong, because everybody else around me was bigger and stronger than me, and I was afraid all the time. And so I vicariously lived at my grandmother's house through these wrestling dolls, and I would put myself in Hulk Hogan's shoes, and I would always win. And I'd never lost, and I was just like feeling the pain of that younger version of me that felt so defenseless and stuff, and and then a whole lot of compassion for some of the stuff that I did, because it was not very good. Thereafter, and having compassion, because I was operating from a scared little boy.
Yeah, and not knowing any better, and just trying to survive. The things that we do when we try to survive, right?
Yeah.
Like, and trying not to get stuck in that, like, shame and guilting kind of loops, like we all are predisposed to do, especially, once you've done it so many times. Just realize, like, hey, it is what it is. I did what I had to do with the best that I could at the time.
Yeah. That's one thing that helped me. So after the collapse of everything, I ended up getting a job working with teenage boys from Compton and Watts and LA and stuff. And they were there for, they call them SAYs, which is sexually assaulted youth. So basically these kids are put out of the community because of, like, sexual stuff, and they give it 18 months in treatment. And so I ended up becoming a treatment supervisor inside of this home, and I ended up learning a lot about myself. Vicariously helping them, I was able to help myself at the same time. And then the skills that I was learning to communicate to them, then I was beginning to practice to myself. So it was a very strange sort of getting outside of myself and helping somebody else conquer and overcome their demons, that I began to conquer and overcome mine.
Right.
Amazing experience.
Yeah, it's so, and that lends too as well to the whole concept of when we help help other people, it helps ourselves. Like, there's so much to be learned that you can't do it. There's so much that you can do internally on your own, but when you work with other people, when you help other people, it unlocks things that you didn't even know were there,
Yeah.
like you're saying. And so it's just that concept of, like, nobody does everything on their own, right? Everybody needs somebody. Every coach has a coach, the best players in the world are still, taught by somebody else.
Yeah.
And that person's taught by somebody else. Like, there's always levels to it.
There is. If I were to owe the credit for the man I am today, I can pinpoint 4 men. One was the cop that took me in. Another was the youth pastor in the church that I went to. He's the one that got me the construction career and mentored me and all of that different stuff. And the third one is the treatment center. The guy that I interviewed with, he became my mentor, and he goes, "You're hired. I'm like, oh, okay. And he's like, yeah, you totally remind me of an earlier version of myself, and I want you to work here. And then he made sure that I got promoted like so quick. Like, so I rose to the top, like, skyrocketed so quick to managing the whole thing, So very, very neat. So, I look back at just those key men. Another one was a pastor. But those four, and it's crazy because they're all dead. I'm just like, I just like blow, like every single one of my mentors has kind of passed on. It's like, wow, but I'm thankful. I'm thankful for those people, man, for sure.
Yeah. And they might be dead, but one of the beautiful things too is like them and their stories are part of yours, and that keeps fucking going on too.
Yeah. I had this weird sort of thing. So after the cop mentor died, I flew out to his funeral, got to speak and stuff. And it was very heavy. And I don't know if at the end of the days where he was struggling and he was a real burden on everybody or what, but I had a former story of hope and redemption and all the wonderful things that he did for me. So I'm really glad I got to show a piece of him that maybe somebody missed. And felt honored by that, but I felt like there was somebody on that side that was now like an empowering force. So it's a very weird experience, man. I don't know how to explain it. I don't try to, but you got somebody over there on the unseen realm that is a power source or something. And anyways,
no, that's awesome. It's a beautiful thing for sure.